All right, I think as we let the rest of the group join, we'll just jump into it. So, hi everybody, happy Wednesday. My name is Abby. I'm the 2020 president of Torrey Hill Citizens. Thank you for joining us. This meeting will be recorded and will be posted to our website after the fact. So if you need to refer to it, absolutely, you'll be able to refer to it after the meeting. We'll also post any links to our Facebook group that any of our partners here share tonight for any events or upcoming information that we need to get out there. I think this actually, well, I'm not sure. Maybe this will be a short end of the year meeting. Hope everyone's staying healthy and safe in advance of the holidays. I think first, since we have Mohammed on the call, I see him. Let's turn it over to Bobby Wilson, Councilman Bobby Wilson's office, and get some updates from them first.
Sure. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Mohammed Bernie. I'm Councilman Wilson's legislative aide. We also have on this call Faith Mudd. If any of you have spoken with her in the last 2 or 3 months, she's our resident affairs liaison, and she's doing a fantastic job. And I wanted to introduce, your community group to her because this is a month in which we're taking her around virtually to these meetings. Aside from that, we're happy to take questions. We'll be here for an hour. At this point, the councilman is chiefly focused on making the 2021 capital and operating budgets. And we're actually, the very last budget hearing in probably 3 to 4 weeks worth of them is happening tomorrow morning. And then this weekend going into next week are when council starts taking their votes on the proposed budget. So, I personally have been in the thick of budget world for the last month plus. And that's why just shoot questions at me and I'll look up answers. If I don't have them right away, I'll have them before 7. I'm happy to answer questions now too. Yeah.
Oh, I think actually one of the things we were hoping for an update on is our Lowry Street Bridge construction project, which I think your office is involved with. So I know that, for those of you who might remember, that bridge closed in July for a construction update. It looks like they've been doing great progress. So I'd love to hear if you have any updates to share on that one.
Sure. And quite possibly I'm going to duplicate what Eric might also say, because I know Office of Community Affairs is also trying to figure out the status of this. But what I understand from our Chief of Staff, Sally Stadelman, as far as the Lowry Street Bridge goes, at this point, they're waiting on utilities to install the water and the gas lines at the bridge. And then they have to pour the concrete approaches. So our contact on the project manager is essentially just waiting on these 2 other parties, the utilities, and then for the weather to be whatever optimal conditions it has to be to pour the concrete approaches. I believe those are the last 2 things they have left on that bridge.
That's great news. And then, yes, I think I saw in my email earlier today, Sally did share that we're hoping for maybe January, but depending on the weather again for that concrete. So that's great news. We're really excited. I'm sure everybody will be excited to have that road open just in time for the weather.
I will say we had a conversation with Director Ricks 2 days ago about several projects in the council district that are now at the mercy of the weather. And the way she put it was, essentially during the winter you have that freak couple of days where it's like 60 degrees or whatever. Those are the days we're waiting on to get all these projects done, because we just need whatever surface it is to be at a certain latent temperature for us to do the work. This was in context of restriping elsewhere. I think it was 50 degrees. So we just need a day or 2 like that, and this work will just get done. In this particular case, however, the utility thing has to happen first. So that's the project manager and DOMI trying to work with the utilities to get a schedule for when they're going to get their lines installed.
Great. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I understand. I mean, construction in Pittsburgh in the winter, obviously, for lots of reasons, is dicey. Okay, great. Well, we'll keep posted on that, and hopefully we will get a break in the weather.
Can I ask a quick question for you, Mohammed, on the budget? So I saw in an early draft of the budget, I think when it was first released, the Troy Hill Road sidewalk was slated to get repaired. I just wanted to check to see if that was still included and if it made the final round.
Yeah, give me like 10, 15 minutes. I'm gonna pull the budget off the shelf and take a look.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Great question, Bill. Mohammed, also the budget related to and repairs related to Troy Hill Road. So we had talked with Sally last meeting about the steps, and I know that Ray and Keegan and some of our other board members had weighed in on people still using the steps that are currently closed on Troy Hill Road, headed down to like the trail juncture along 28. And so I think we had determined that it might just be a couple steps that needed to be fixed, and it kind of was on the list of repairs. So if there's an update on that, that would be great.
Ditto. I will also look that up and have a response in 10, 15 minutes.
Awesome. And then also on budget and renovation side of things. So obviously when we were doing the Lowry Street Bridge, there was a conversation about whether or not the Rialto Street steps would also get their much needed overhaul, and the ongoing conversation about having a bike rental installed. Again, we had some conversation about this being built into the Bike Pittsburgh master plan and budget. So an update on that would be awesome as well. I know that that was not necessarily slated for construction during the Lowry Street update, but I think the money was built into this fiscal year. So will that carry over?
Yeah, so it should definitely carry over. If there's money has been allocated, it will definitely carry over. On the Runnels specifically, we had started a conversation with our DPW supervisor, who had done this kind of work elsewhere in the city and gotten a quote from him. I think we were just trying to figure out, what it would take to free up that chunk of money, because there was no Runnel money specifically for Troy Hill at the time that they passed that budget. And then the weather happened and construction season sort of backed off a bit. So I will figure out the status of the Runnel is, and also what Rialto Street steps, where that's at. I'm really to circle back in like 10 minutes because I'll have these answers.
Totally. I'm just gonna hit you with all of this up front, and then you can kind of do your research while we keep chatting. I think that obviously the big concern for the community is that that is a major gateway for us, just like the Lowry Bridge, and so we will need some heads up on those steps especially. Yeah, hopefully we can get that on the list. The last thing that we wanted an update is the Cali Playground, the Cali Rec Center area, that landslide behind the hill. I know Domi had taken core samples. There was some understanding of some plan to remediate that in the near future. So any updates on that landslide?
All right, let me see here. I do have notes about that. Let's see. Okay, let me back up a second here. On the Lowry Street Bridge, that temperature threshold has to be over 40 degrees support of the concrete. So they're looking for a day or two where they can get that. On the Runnel and Rialto Street steps, there's a bit of a longer timeline here than originally thought. At this point, Domi is rebidding the steps contract for Rialto, and they expect to award the contract by March of next year. So we have to, so the process as far as Domi goes, the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, for them to, we have to have them award the contract to a contractor before we can get a quote for the cost of repairing the steps and installing the Runnel. Steps have to be done before the Runnel. And the reason, and once we know that amount, that's the amount that we have to go as a council office, go and advocate for out of the overall allocation that the department gets in the capital project, in the capital budget. Another reason why it wouldn't be specifically earmarked in the capital budget is just it's not a large enough project traditionally in terms of cost to get its own line item in the budget. It would be part of a larger like sidewalk and steps allocation, which is usually a few $1 million. So that's the status on the Runnel and the Rialto Street steps. You said Cali, right? Cali Playground landslide?
Sorry, classic mute error. We have that landslide right behind the Cali Rec Center, and that like walking path has been closed for quite some time. Okay.
I have a few notes here on what the project scope will be, but let me figure out the timeline is and I will respond back to that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mohammed right now that he can look into while we continue to chat? Or Faith, thank you, Faith, for joining the call, by the way. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Hello.
Penny, we can hear you. What's up?
Hi. Yeah. So he's talking about next year's budget. So I'm thinking, is we're supposed to get the part of Lowry Street, the road repaved, but they held up on that because of the construction on the bridge. Is that still going to be a go for the spring?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Penny. We had Lowry Street to be paved this year on our list of asks to DOMI, and they held it this year because this project was coming online and they want to put in a roadway that was potentially going to be ripped up. But it is on our list of asks from DOMI next year. As far as the capital budget goes, you don't see like individual streets in there and, you know, like this street is going to be repaved from here to here. There's a paving budget overall for the city. And then out of that, council members get allocated, each council office gets allocated a certain amount. And that's where we push for streets in our district. But as far as our council office is concerned, Lowry Street repaving post-bridge project is very much at the top of our list to push for in early spring of next year when they're building out
Well,
the paving list.
that's good because like they had some heavy equipment up here and it really tore up our streets even
Yeah.
more. So I was unsure. So thank you.
It needs to get done, and especially to chase all the investment we just put in on the bridge, it would just make sense to get it all done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Penny.
Great question, Penny. Any other questions? You know, anything about infrastructure, anything that we see in the neighborhood right now? We went on this list. I mean, obviously lots of stuff, but. Okay, great. I see Sergeant Burford is on from Zone 1. Would you like to say hi and give us any updates that you have from your end?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good to see everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. So I actually, crime-wise, I have nothing really to report. There were no Part 1 crimes, no violent crimes, nothing like that in Troy Hill in the last 30 days. The one thing I did see one or two of, and this is going on, obviously everyone can understand why, everywhere, it's not even citywide, is package thefts. So what I'd like to give people, you know, just some ideas, think outside the box. Sometimes if you can get something delivered to your office, to your work, if you have that ability, to maybe a neighbor's house or a friend's house that has a little more of secure area, a different porch. Like the other day, I was on Monterey Street and right down in the War Streets, and there was a giant box that said Omaha Steak Company. And listen, I'm not a thief, but I know what's in that box, and I'm like, man, that's tempting. I mean, I'm not going to steal it, but what I'm saying is, you know, there's delicious steaks in there. So, and it says it. And I've driven around, you know, I drive around the district and I see there's televisions left out. I mean, there's the boxes show right what they are. So if you can, try to get things delivered to your if you're working at home, try to just keep an eye out, grab a Ring doorbell. And then, you know, if you have a neighbor who has something out, even maybe just grab it and pull it in for them and let them know because, you know, package theft is heavy. There's been reports, I mean, you guys have seen on the news in the past, people will just follow UPS and FedEx around just grabbing things. So that's the one thing we're seeing going on right now. I want to give a little report on the Stuff with Love event that the church in the South Side, they handle it. Let me be very clear. They prepare all the meals. Pittsburgh police just go around and deliver them. Now this church, last year in Zone 1, we did 380 meals. That's the most meals we've ever done in a year. This year we did just shy of 900. So obviously we're seeing an increase in people needing things. So I'm using that as a kind of an intro to the Pittsburgh police are doing a toy drive this year. We've done it in the past. So if anyone knows of a family with children that's in need of toys, call down to Zone 1, ask for Officer Payton and get a hold of Officer Derek Payton and Officer Wright. They're our community guys, and we can get toys for families that are in need. And obviously there's so many factors this year, you know, work and such. Everyone's in a different situation. So I'm sure we're going to see an increase in children without toys. So if you know somebody that needs a toy, give us a call. And to my understanding, we have a bunch of them. Last year, because we were talking on a meeting yesterday about how are we going to push the word of this out and not be overwhelmed with it, because we don't obviously want someone to call and report children that need toys and then they don't get them. And to our understanding, last year, we sat at the end of the year on thousands of toys. So we've kind of been assured that we have a lot of toys. So if you have somebody that's in that situation, let us know. Other than that, I'm just here to answer any questions or any concerns anyone has.
That's great. Thank you so much. And so you said they should call Zone 1 and ask for Derek Payton, Officer Derek Payton, or Officer.
Or Sylvester Wright. Either one. They're both our community guys.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Sergeant Burford about anything going on in the neighborhood, the toy drive, anything related to, any crime or anything?
Hey, I have a quick question for you guys. Abby, the invite for this meeting tonight, is it the same every month?
So this meeting is actually it is my Zoom. It's the same meeting. It's the same meeting room. We have these meetings every other month on the second Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Okay.
If you'd like, I can include you. We're going to be launching new meeting dates for 2021 and that coming year. We will include you on that when we send that email out.
All right, great. You know what? I'll just throw my email in the chat right now. I want to thank Mohammed for sending me the invite tonight, and I wish everybody a happy holiday. And if anybody needs to get a hold of me, just send me an email. I'm no longer at Zone 1 temporarily, but I will respond to email and get you the answers you need, okay?
Fabulous. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, Eric from the City of Pittsburgh, Office of Community Affairs. You want to jump in?
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Williams. I'm the Community Liaison in the Office of Community Affairs. I'm in stand-in for Leah today. She's doing Civic Leadership Academy every Wednesday, so you may see me again for a few weeks. But Leah is still your Community Liaison, and she'll always take care of you guys, which I'm sure she probably does for every issue. So I'm gonna do the announcements as well that we usually do, and then I'll include all those announcements in the link in the chat. And if you have any questions, I'll take them at the end. So it'll take like about 5 minutes to do some few announcements. The first one is Snow Angels is accepting applications. I know you folks already probably heard about that already. And folks that do not know what Snow Angels is, it's the program that pairs older adult residents and residents with disabilities with nearby volunteer snow angels to help them shovel and salt their sidewalks and property throughout the winter. This is a great program because it does foster community engagement with folks, but we do not allow volunteers and recipients to interact given COVID and other issues. I just want to mention that really quick, but you can sign up for Snow Angels if you live within the city limits by calling 311 and going to online website at pittsburghpa.gov/snowangels, and I'll leave that link down there below in the chat. The next announcement is the budget, and I'll share some links in there. I know you got this announcement the last time, but I'll leave the links down there so that you can review the budget and continue to ask questions to Mohammed and Bobby Wilson's team. Next is the Mayor Peduto proposes COVID-19 sick leave. This is for workers who live in the city of Pittsburgh or work for a company that's in the city of Pittsburgh that are impacted by COVID-19. They will receive paid sick leave under the new legislation that was passed a few days ago. The mayor, and I didn't get the update yet, but he may have signed that yesterday. But that was passed, so folks will have some relief given the impact of COVID-19 that are working. And then next is the Mayor and the United We's Appointments Project. This is a project. United We is formerly a women's foundation that serves to attract talent and train women that are seeking opportunities to lead their communities. There's a training that was done on this past Monday, but there's another training happening after the holidays on January 13th at 12 o'clock. It includes a workshop which will guide women through the process of applying for positions that offer applicants appointments for training. This is super important because as we see based on their data from We Foundation, the Women's Foundation, that 61% of the appointments in the city were women, but we can do much better. And I'll leave more information in the chat about that as well. Another thing that I'm excited about personally is the Clean and Lean team to address blighted properties throughout the city. This is a City of Pittsburgh group, office that is working through Public Works Department in addressing the blighted properties throughout the city. Many times you see properties that are privately owned and they're not handled for some time because there's private property rights that kind of slow things down. So it can take up to 90 days for violations to get issued, and that takes a total of 3 before it goes to court. So it's a super lengthy process before a clean lien is put on a property. And a lot of the properties throughout the city, some people are deceased, others are outside of the country, inside the country, but a different state. So this speeds up the process of getting some of these properties handled, especially the overgrowth and the many of the things that surround overgrowth, which is rodents and other things that are very not really aligned with the quality of life that we all deserve. So you can call 311 and you can report private properties that are, or properties in general that are overgrown or other issues, so that way the clean and lien team can put that on the radar. The last announcement I have is the city and PWSA is seeking proposals for innovative citywide stormwater management master plan they have. These proposals are for a local and global models. There's a few recommendations here too, but I'm not going to go over each one of them. I'll share the link in the chat, so you can look into it if you're interested. But from this point, I could take any questions that you may have.
Was it the clean and lean team for the buildings? That does sound really great. Are they going to be, how will that work? Are they going to be like speeding up the 90-day process, or are they going to be skipping kind of steps to get to the violation faster, or like what does that look like?
So after the violations happen and it's in the court makes a determination, sometimes if we're staying on it, and the community mostly staying on it and making sure that folks are aware of this property, between the stage of going to court, if it needs to go to, so it's like kind of complicated. All right. So if this is a repeat offender, sometimes it will go straight to clean and lien and we'll handle the property, right? Because we know that this is obviously this person is deceased. There's some tangled title issue that we need to handle this. So the DPW, Department of Public Works, makes that determination. So if the property can be and the owner is not around, then it will go. So it's supposed to. So there's so many properties like that the city's overwhelmed. So that's why they created this clean and lean team to go in there and take care of it. So.
Yeah, I think we definitely, I mean, in Troy Hill, we have a high rental population, and of course, a lot of them, can be either vacant, for a period of time, or so that's really great to know. We'll definitely share the materials around that. I love that they're looking at that.
Yeah, me too.
Does anybody have any questions for Eric about any of those initiatives, any of those programs, anything else related to the City of Pittsburgh, Community Affairs Office? Awesome, look at that. You've blown us all away. Okay, so we will definitely share those links, like I said, on our Facebook page and in a newsletter later for December. If anybody has any other questions for Eric, feel free to chime in as we go. We all good? Move forward? Everybody cool? Okay, next up I want to turn over to our new rep, Emily Kincaid. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll let you introduce yourself and say a few words.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Kincaid. I'm the new state representative for House District 20, which includes all of Troy Hill. So I'm very excited to get to work for you guys. Right now I'm in transition. I don't officially get sworn in until January 5th. So while Representative Ravenstell is no longer in office, we're in this kind of weird time where I'm not technically the full state rep yet. So I'm onboarding. My staff will be at full capacity as of next week, so we can certainly address any issues that anybody has. I will drop my contact information in the chat. The phone number is the same, but the email is different. So if anybody has any questions, if you have any issues, any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me, and we will handle whatever it is that you guys have. As far as our office, we are moving the office from where it was located on California Avenue. It's now going to be on East Ohio Street. So it's going to be actually a lot more conveniently located to you guys. So I'm excited about that. We've actually gotten a couple questions because East Ohio, this section of East Ohio is not actually technically in the 20th district, but it is probably the most accessible location to all the rest of the 20th district because it's on all of the major bus routes. It's right off of 279 and 28, and you know, it really just makes it a much more accessible office for the whole of the district. So we decided to move one block outside the district in order to serve the whole of the district, which is, you know, the perfect example of gerrymandering. So yeah, I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has them. And once our office is under construction a little bit now, so it also won't be opening until probably January, but we once it's open, we'll let you guys know so that you can for the time being make appointments to come in if you need any in-person help.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your move, and hopefully you're getting set up and set in, you know, settled in, and all the, you know, staffing and everything is looking good. I'm very excited. So welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions right now? Good. Okay, great. All right. So Mohammed, I just want to give you a chance. If you have any information, do you want to jump in before I dive into my Troy Hill specific updates? Otherwise, we'll keep moving.
I would love to. Let me start with, let me see here. So on the landslide, Sally reached out to, let's see here, reached out to a gentleman by the name of Paul Loy in the Department of Public Works, and she's waiting on an update for him still. He hasn't responded yet. So Abby, what I will do on this is we will get the response probably tomorrow or by the end of the week for sure. And I'll just forward it to you to share with the community group for the landslide.
That sounds great. Happy to do that.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention, I don't think anyone asked me about this, but it is in our notes here for tonight regarding the Cowley Rec Center project. My understanding of the timeline at this point is that following the last community meeting they had, you know, in Troy Hill with all of you, at this point they are looking to figure out the best field size for the community, and the emphasis is on getting the size of this field right, so that, you know, the layout of the basketball courts or the spectator areas or whatever, having all that done in a way that makes sense for the way the community would use it. I think the Department of Public Works is going to come right back to us to help us figure out one more opportunity to get input from Troy Hill, from the community group in Troy Hill, and from any other groups of individuals that would be planning on using that field before they finalize the design. But that's where that is right now, and I think the design work is going to still go through the end of the year and into the new year before that next presentation happens.
Okay, I sort of figured with the holidays that we wouldn't be seeing a revised version. So just for everybody on the call, in October we met with a couple different members of the city architecture team and design team, and we reviewed some of their preliminary plans for the Cowley Rec Center, which will be completely renovated, demolished and renovated, and, you know, rebuilt as a community center with some new outdoor amenities, some new focuses on some new features. So I would love, hopefully in January, if we haven't heard anything, we can circle back with your office and see what that next community input / meeting is looking like.
Absolutely. And just to confirm, are you meeting as a community in January or for the first time again in February?
We will be meeting for the first time in February as a community. We will have our board meeting in January, which we will, you know, vote on our officers for the year, etc. But we will definitely be still working. Any other updates that you want to share before I jump into Troy Hill stuff?
No, I don't have anything else, but I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, great.
Or let you guys move on.
Either way, questions. We can give people a minute here. I can be quiet.
Did you see if the Troy Hill Road sidewalk repair is still in the budget?
Oh yes, let me do that. Why don't I just message you on, like, you know, in the chat.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pat Campbell also called out the Troy Hill Road steps also for that update, whether or not those couple steps are going to be fixed. Like I said, I know that when we spoke last time, it seemed like it was just a matter of getting that into their repair list.
Yeah, I will also put that update in the chat.
Great. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts from anybody before I move on? Great. Okay, so this is actually going to be pretty brief. So first of all, you might have noticed that we did not hang our business district Christmas lights this year. We usually every year hang these beautiful kind of tinsely candles on our business district light poles. Unfortunately, that is a COVID-related budget decision. We had to cancel, I'm sure, as you all know, a lot of our fundraising events this year, and so we just couldn't quite swing it. However, we're really excited to bring that back next year. Similarly, the Troy Hill Christmas tree lighting, unfortunately, we canceled as well. Again, COVID cases on the rise, even outdoor gatherings, so of a large group of people obviously is not a great idea right now. So, however, the good news is you might have noticed we have a new addition to our monument there right at the corner of Lay and Lowry. We have our own little evergreen tree that's been planted. And so hopefully this will be there year round and we'll get to decorate at the holidays. We will still decorate the tree for this year. I know it's a little small, but it's going to grow, I promise. So don't rush good things. So we're really excited to have that a little more green in our neighborhood. Any questions on any of the events or anything that we're kind of wrapping up for the end of the year? Okay, great. The other two areas of business, so we will be holding board elections. And so how this works is that every December, we solicit any new board members who want to join our wonderful and very exciting and fun group. And we currently have, I believe, 3 board seats open. Thank you, my cat's meowing in the background. And then you will also be voting every year. A cycle of seats comes up for re-election. So this year, current members of Troy Hill Citizens for the 2020 year will be receiving an email or a paper version of the election ballot, probably in the first week of January. So first things first, if you know anybody who wants to join the board, they have until December 31st to submit a bio to troyhillpittsburgh@gmail.com. You can send it to me. You can message us on Facebook. Board commitments usually are a meeting every month on Wednesdays, a slightly longer meeting on the Wednesdays where we have general meetings back to back with board meetings, helping out with events and stuff throughout the year, and generally just being interested in the community. And then, so after December 31st, if we collect any bios we received, we will then have a vote on the people who are up for election this year. Keegan, who's our new board member. Welcome, Keegan. He just joined us this year. Thank you so much. We also have Janet, who's on the phone. Janet, as you all probably know, is a longstanding board member. She's a super valuable resource for our community. She's chair of our Block Watch group. We love having her. And Penny. Penny's seat is up for election. And Penny, you probably remember her from Pigtoberfest if you came. She's so helpful with events. She always does our 50-50 raffle. So I love her for that, for raising us a couple extra bucks every Pigtoberfest. So keep an eye out for their board bios if you're a paying member for the 2020 year. Does anybody have any questions about the election specifically? Awesome. If you do, again, feel free to email us. And then the other thing is, so membership for 2021. Obviously, we would love to have you all renew your membership. It's $10. We're going to be doing an email campaign via MailChimp, so keep an eye out for that. We have a PayPal link. It's super easy. Your $10 helps us do things like the Christmas tree lighting. It helps pay for the membership cards and things like that we send out. It's really instrumental in kind of keeping our operations running, and we're really grateful to all of our members who supported in 2020. Obviously, 2020 wasn't the best year for events and community happenings, but I think we've been storing up a lot of energy for 2021, so hopefully we can hit the ground running and keep things going. Any questions about that at all? That's my pitch. Awesome. Okay. Like I said, we will be sending around a newsletter later this month. It will have all of the meeting dates for 2021 in it, so mark your calendars. Again, it'll be every other month, the second Wednesday at 6 p.m. Unfortunately, it will be Zoom probably for the beginning of 2021, but gosh, I have never wanted to get back to the Most Holy Name basement and get everybody together as much as I do right now. It's insane. I can't wait to see you all in person. And I hope that everybody is staying safe and healthy and making smart decisions about the holiday season. So with that, any other questions, concerns, comments?
So, Verna, how about telling us what?
Oop, did I hear someone comment?
Well, let me chime in. Bill, to your question about the Troy Hill Road, the elevated sidewalk, is that what you're referring to in the 1300 block of Troy Hill Avenue? Like what is technically part of the, is Bill, oh, there he is.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know if it's the 1300 block or where it is.
It's the one that
like,
has the metal plate and there's a giant hole underneath it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I know this. Yeah, so yes, you're right. It is in the budget.
Okay.
And it is specifically in the budget for $150,000. For anyone who's interested and wants to look this up, you can look it up. It's on page 61 of the 2021 capital budget. And there's only two things on that page. One is the Troy Hill elevated sidewalk, and it's 150 grand in our district. And the other thing is citywide critical sidewalk gaps. This is just like a pot of money that's allocated just to, connect a piece of sidewalk to another piece of sidewalk somewhere where, for whatever reason, it doesn't exist or fell apart. And the other pot is $175,000. So that's that 175K is where we would go and like get money for sidewalks wherever we need. And so would every other council person. So you can imagine that money runs out real fast. But there is earmarked $150,000 for the Troy Hill Road. And the reason it had to be done that way, and also it was a thing that we heard about, pretty much all summer, is because from an engineering standpoint, the city treated it like an extension of the bridge repair because of the way you have to fill that sidewalk when the underside of it is also exposed to the elements and however that affects the engineering of that. They were like, this has to be done with the bridge. It can't be done and earmarked alongside the bridge. It can't be done out of our sidewalk money because it's not a true sidewalk in that sense, from an engineer standpoint, not from a pedestrian standpoint. So yes, thank you for that question.
All right, and thank you for putting in the work to get that money earmarked for it. I know a lot of people are gonna appreciate getting that fixed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we heard about it a number of times, and so we just communicated that to the mayor's office, and they were able to come through. I saw a question here in chat about how much does 150K do in sidewalks. I think that's Pat, right? Pat Campbell.
Yep, that's Pat.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the question, like in terms of how many feet of sidewalk it does. Is that the question? I can figure out what the rule of thumb is for how much each dollar in sidewalk investment goes, how far it goes literally on the ground. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
I guess the question might be, do you expect that 150K is going to do the whole project, or are we going to still need to hunt for?
No. That number only shows up in the capital budget as proposed by the mayor after the relevant department has done, like essentially gotten a quote. There might not be a contract for it yet, but these are engineers who do the same kinds of projects year in, year out, and they have a sense of how much things cost. So it's a very informed estimate. If it ends up not being enough, the trick is really getting things in the budget and attaching the first chunk of money to it. Because once the work is started, or once there's that momentum in the budget, we'll find the money to finish it. It's much weirder for the city to leave a project unfinished than it is for them just to never get around to it. So, and what the project entails, I can get into that. My understanding is, for the longest time, there was a hole in the sidewalk, then they threw a giant steel slab over it, and that was the entirety of the solution. So at this point, I would imagine the project entails getting that slab out of the way and getting that hole fully repaired. And then beyond that, how much more is going to happen on that sidewalk, I can figure that out. But also once they start doing the design work, once the budget gets passed and I know they have that much money to do it, that design work would be where we would find out the answer to the question what the project entails.
Okay, so it sounds like we're still waiting for a couple more details on that. And just to go back to those Troy Hill steps, I see also in your comment you're worried about limited budget not being able to get that done. You know, I would really think we need to get that done because it's only, I think, you know, Keegan had mentioned that he had seen people still using those steps. It's only a couple loose steps. So, you know, in terms of like a budget thing, and I understand that sometimes the smallest things are the hardest, right? Because they're like tiny, tiny things that the city is like, you know, whatever. But I know that a lot of people use those, and the fact that they've been closed, kind of closed with no like obvious, you know, sense of, you know, what's wrong with them. I think. Can I get a little bit of history on this? How long have they been closed officially? Even people are using them. You know, I would say since midsummer. Keegan. Okay, recently then, not years and years. No, but they're heavily trafficked, and they closed. You know, we had no knowledge anybody had reported anything. Keegan, do you want to weigh in? Sorry, I saw you unmute yourself there.
No, I was just gonna agree with you on that timing. It's been at least 6 months since they've been out of commission. I mean, that actually helps. I was afraid someone would say like it's been a while or no one remembers, because we've had a couple of those steps in the district, and then in that case, DPW has pushed back pretty aggressively because a lot of city steps don't in fact get used, and they're like, you know, every time we open up a step and officially make it accessible to the public, we take on all the liability and maintenance costs of that, which they have to budget out, you know, years in advance. And they're just trying to avoid doing that. So the fact that it's recently got closed and it's a minimal repair, we can prioritize it. I mean, I can commit to you, we're going to at least fight for it if you guys are saying it's important. So I think it is. So I think one of the things, again, you know, Troy Hill has one bus route that actually goes through Troy Hill, and then the one and the two that actually go on 28. You know, a lot of our population that doesn't have cars or doesn't want a car, honestly, you know, living in the city, being able from that end of Troy Hill to just jump down and pick up that bus right there, it's so much faster than walking all the way to the Lowry, you know, Lowry Rialto kind of new interchange that's being built, the steps there. So, you know, and I know that, I think on the last call, Ray had said, you know, our board member Ray's house is like within eyesight of that, and he sees people jumping the tape and using them anyway. So I think it's like one wonky step, you know, I mean, like just one that needs to be, so hopefully. It's simple stuff. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Awesome.
Hey, Mohammed, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Back on the Troy Hill Road sidewalk. I guess where I was going with that, a few years ago, we talked with Molly.
Yeah.
And she said there might have been some kind of plans to redesign the entire sidewalk. I mean, that's a big area of sidewalk. That's where I'm getting at. $150,000. What does that cover? Maybe a quarter of the sidewalk. To fix that hole, I wouldn't think it would cost $150,000, but maybe it does.
So I can presume that when they came up with the 150K number, there's some Excel spreadsheet somewhere that has a description of what adds up to 150K, even as a quote. So I can at least, you know, try and figure that out and then share that with you guys, even if that's not the official design documents for that work. And perhaps that will help shed some light on what exactly is being contemplated at that.
Well, right. And that's what when Molly said this, and she gave us like a heads up to it, she says, you guys might want to push for this at the time because it could turn into a big project where they could redesign, make a new improved Troy Hill Road steps. Now, of course, I know the budget's. Wait,
let me clarify. You're talking about the elevated sidewalk, or you're talking about the steps, which I'm.
Actually, you're right. The sidewalk.
Sidewalk, got it. Okay.
I don't know if the entire sidewalk is elevated. There's sections of it, I guess, are, and I mean, maybe the whole entire sidewalk is elevated. I don't know.
I can. You know what? I'm going to go back to Domi and just ask him, since the budget specifically says 1,300 block of Troy Hill Road. They must have a very clear segment and a very clear plan that led them to the quota of 150 or the budget allocation. So let me just go find out what that is. And we should certainly share that with the community group before they get into, you know, bidding out the work. So you guys know what they're planning on doing. Yeah, that'd be great. I think Pat's point is a good one in the sense we've had lots of conversations about the Troy Hill Road sidewalk in general is in terrible shape, kind of up and down, you know, not just that block. So I think it might warrant certainly maybe a note in that sidewalk repair, you know, budget item. Okay. Absolutely.
I guess, and can I ask you one other question, Mohammed?
I'm
Just
here.
out of my own curiosity.
Yeah.
Do you know how much the Spring Garden, Spring Hill City steps are costing?
Yes, I do have that information. The Vista Street steps, right?
Right.
Let me see. And this is public information, by the way. There's Domi puts out these like project fact sheets, and so which contains which is on the back end of all the work that they do behind the scenes, and they publish this one-page document or two-page document that has a photo of the project and a description of the project and funding sources and everything, and even the project manager. So the public can directly contact a person in the city who is a project manager. For the Vista Street steps, just Googling this, the cost total was $645,000. The design was $45,000. I know, it's shocking how expensive these things are. The design work was $45,000. The construction was $600,000. So,
I mean, those steps are not messing around. I've been watching them be built, and they are like a force.
They're built to last a while. Yeah, we're not screwing around on those steps. I mean, something that breaks my heart that needed to get done, but it's just like one of those things where we're going to spend so much taxpayer money, and at the end of it, it's not going to look like we've done anything. We're going to spend $1.8 million to fix the road, like to do landside remediation Review Park on that loop. If any of you have been there, like you've seen those, traffic barriers that prevent people from just like cars from potentially sliding off the road, where a chunk of the road is caving into the park, just to make that look like a regular road again. Not to like, put up a new rec center, not to do some like positive piece of infrastructure building, just to make it look like a regular road and to shore up that road. We're going to spend $1.8 million. And landslides are like popping up in the north side, because that's where we are from a climate standpoint. And it's just going to require so much money to do something that looks very simple. But yeah, steps is like considered a cheap thing and a small thing to do. And that $645K is an estimate.
Right. Well, one other question. If you go to Berg's Eye, and that's one of the things I usually look at, and go to like punch in Troy Hill, then go to capital improvements.
Yeah.
There's a list of projects. And on that list, it has the Rialto steps. I believe it's $100,000.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're doing the same level of work on Rialto. I don't think we're like the Vista Street steps pretty much had to be reconstructed.
Right.
So, and there was
in the scheme of it, though, $100,000 isn't a lot for the fixed city steps.
No, it's not. Especially not the Rialto Street steps, which are a major way of getting in and out of Troy Hill. So, in the grand scheme of things, I think the Vista Street steps also got more expensive than usual because there's a pretty famous mural at the base of those steps, and there was a lot of community interest in preserving that mural. So removing that mural, storing it, and then putting it back on the new steps was a significant portion of the cost. Not more than half, but it definitely added to the cost of the public art component.
And hey, when we still have Emily Kincaid on the line, correct?
He is indeed, yes.
Yep, I'm still here.
What does the state help in any projects like that?
Yeah, state funding can be given in that capacity. So I mean, it would have to come in the form of grant money or actually be included in the budget. But as far as how much might have been given for this, I'm not sure. But yeah, I definitely will be working with Mohammed and Bobby Wilson's office in the future to make sure that where funds are available from the state to be able to do these projects, that we're actually getting that funding, because yeah, it shouldn't just be coming from the city. These should all be sort of combined projects to the extent that we can.
Thank you.
And Pat, to your question there, actually a lot of these projects, when you look at the capital budget or later on when they go to legislation, so we'll pass a budget that contains a list of all the projects, but we're actually then allocating that money to be spent on that project. There's legislation in council that comes through before us that we Councilman Wilson has to sign off on. That legislation usually contains a breakdown of how much of that, let's say 645K, is being chipped in by the city, how much from the state, how much from the feds. By and large, the city gets, we're like in for a nickel, and we get 95 cents from the city and from the state and the feds. We generally don't chip in as much as, in my mind seems fair, but I'm not complaining. There's a lot of matching dollars, and there's a lot of grants, and there's a lot of things that someone like Rep. Kincaid, or even further up in DC, that money is made available for these projects. The other big way, and I anticipate Representative Kincaid will be a huge source of support for us on this, but offices like hers will let us know there's a grant that, worth applying to at the state level, and like DOMI and DPW would do these applications, and then an office like ours, and oftentimes that's me, writing letters of support from Councilman Wilson, now with Representative Kincaid also writing letters of support on behalf of those project applications to get those dollars. That's really where we get a chance to push as elected officials at every level for the same project, to really like amplify the voices of, the residents who live in wherever those projects would go in.
Thank you.
I love it. It's like the dream team. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. If anybody has anything else, feel free to speak up. Otherwise, I feel like we're wrapping up sort of right on time. Again, thank you everybody for your time tonight. Please feel free to reach out to us, email us, Facebook message us, any questions you have. Otherwise, like I said, happy holidays, stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for coming. Oh, and board of directors, please stay on.